We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. We got a second scrimmage to talk about. Billy Napier met with the media late Monday evening, so recording this not long after he stepped off the podium there. We'll get his thoughts on that second scrimmage. So plenty to get into from that one. But also at the same time, we're going to hear from Graham Mertz. We're going to hear from the tight ends, Arlis, Boardingham, and Hayden Hansen. So plenty to get into on this episode of Gators Breakdown. As not much longer till Florida kicks off the season against Miami, of course. 2 more practices this week, and then Billy Napier did say we're going to turn the page to Miami on Thursday. So plenty to get into, plenty to talk about right here as we just count down. Fall camp's about over with, and turning the page to Miami prep coming up right here. So, man, can taste it. It's so close. It's so close. So, as I said, plenty to get into with the scrimmage, Graham Mertz, and the tight ends here. But hit that like button before we get into this episode of Gators Breakdown. That really helps us out, of course. Subscribe right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And now it's a good chance, of course, you can join Gators Breakdown Plus. Extra episodes, those will be happening there. Those chats will be happening as well. Probably going to do one toward the end of this week for Gators Breakdown Plus members. We'll do the Q&A during the season as well. Link is in the description to join Gators Breakdown Plus. All right. Hey, without further ado, let's just hear from the head coach, Billy Napier, on the Florida Gators' second scrimmage of 2024 fall camp.
The scrimmage went well. We were able to get a ton of work. I think we played about 160 plays total, counting offense, defense, and kicking game. I thought the defense was much better, less mental errors. I think the run fits were polished up and better. I think that we did a good job playing red zone defense, and we got some takeaways. And I think we cleaned up the penalties on offense, but we did have a few penalties on defense to work on. I do think offensively we had a good day on third down. Overall, much cleaner. I thought we were much more efficient. We got out of there injury-free for the most part. We did have a few typical injuries, but overall, what we've talked about showed up. I think now going forward, the detail's really important. The urgency is really important. It's very evident that there's great competition. We definitely have more depth than we've ever had.
Developing explosives through the air in these scrimmages, especially after the first one. How did you see that progress in the second scrimmage?
We had some explosives. We did. I do think the defense did a good job limiting explosives, but there's no question that we had some throughout. Look, we know turnover margin and explosives are critical factors relative to winning, so we want to be intentional about trying to do that. I think you can rush the ball, then you have a chance to run action pass, the naked game, staying on schedule on third down. So I think that's an area where we need to continue to have focus and do that weekly. That's always a point of emphasis.
The offensive line right now, and our job's still up for grabs there.
Yeah, no, I've been very pleased. I think that we have more depth. There's more competition. We definitely have a 2 deep there that we have confidence in, but there is competition, and I think there'll be, there's a lot of what's the ratio of plays, is it 1-to-1, is it 2-to-1? And then who's the next best inside player? Who's the next best tackle? And then a lot of that will be determined, I would say, week to week, but I do feel really confident. In particular, the pass protection has been much better. We need to continue to work on developing some of our younger players. We still have some very talented players that are very inexperienced that need every rep that they can get. So, we've got a good, healthy rotation there and feel good about that group.
So looking back on Saturday, up and down day for the offense, and I think mostly because of a good day for the defense. It's still some concern for that right side of the offensive line as pieces still being shuffled, 2 weeks before kickoff against Miami. Roger Kearney getting some starting reps there on Saturday in place of Damian George. Damian George getting his first team reps as well, kind of splitting them up, throw Cam Waits into that battle at right guard as well. I think, would like to get that settled, but, could be some combos that could make their way into the season there, and maybe not a full starting five settled just yet. Was a better week for the offensive line compared to the week before, and I think that was expressed by Napier in him mentioning, he saw better pass blocking than he had before. So run blocking's good and have to get better in that pass blocking area, but the head man says he likes the improvement in that area. So in the end, I think it's best to get that starting five, but sounds like it's pretty fluid as of now. So, but overall, it was a scrimmage where the defense won the day. The communication, tackling much better. But the biggest thing to me is just that limiting explosives. We're going to continue that conversation from last week's scrimmage. And I'm going to continue to look at the explosives on offense as not a huge issue because where we're at and coming off of last season and going into this season, I'd rather hear that the defense is limiting the explosives more than the offense is getting them. Believe me, I want them on offense. We've been preaching all offseason about the explosives on offense, but if you give me a choice, I'm going to choose. I'd rather hear the defense is limiting the explosive plays. The big play behind the defense hasn't been much of an issue. Now we may get to the season and this Gator offense still isn't hitting the explosives we want to see. But if you give me that choice between both sides of the explosives equation, give me the side that is telling me the defense isn't giving them up. I'll take that right now, just given what we saw, big play after big play after big play last year. I think it's welcome news we're hearing that side of the ball is not giving them up. Now, at the same time, it's also welcoming to see the defense causing some turnovers. Now, we saw some highlights, and then going back to the scrimmage, all the reports, all the talking to some people, there were some turnovers in that scrimmage on Saturday, and we saw them in the clip Florida released. Two of the interceptions we saw in the clip and was told coming out of the scrimmage were on DJ Lagway. One was on Mertz. Now, of course, it's a catch-22. We certainly don't want the offense turning the ball over, but that's the beauty of fall camp. You're facing your own team here. So it's up to you how you want to take that. Jordan Castell, man, that snag that he had for an interception. Tyreek Sapp had a pick six on a tip pass. DJ Douglas, Asa Turner were the other safeties that's played well too in the scrimmage. Turner, just continues to be that, bring that physicality to the defense, to the secondary that just hasn't been there. It's been there all fall camp from him. Welcome. We talked about it last week, the safety spot, how Castell and Turner, I think, are going to help each other. Seeing Castell had that miraculous interception, hearing Turner's a physical force, a tackling force, welcome news that you certainly hope is going to translate into the season. Something we just haven't seen on that back end. Mertz did have a nice drive where he and Trey Wilson took over for a couple big plays. Then found Arlis Boardingham for another big play down to the goal line. Jacoby Jackson finished that drive. Later into this episode, we'll get more, as I mentioned, Graham Mertz, Arlis Boardingham. We'll get more from the quarterback. We'll get more from the tight end. It's been a nice connection this fall camp. Jaden Ball was able to have a lengthy touchdown run. Jacoby Jackson continues to impress as well. Napier did say in the press conference, Montrell Johnson should be back practicing soon. What does that mean for the Miami game? We'll see, but certainly sounds like he's going to start to try and give it a go and be ready for that Miami game. Napier also gave praise to Trayon Webb at the running back spot and made sure it was known he was the best pass protector Florida has at that spot with Montrell being out. Says it is important for the other backs to learn to play without the ball. So certainly know that's something they're looking for. We all know, Trevor Etienne and him kind of being put on blast for his lack of pass blocking. Probably some of the reason Montrell Johnson played so many snaps, while the snaps were probably 50-50, even though Trevor Etienne, probably the better playmaker. I think we know this staff and how they value that pass blocking role. So hearing Napier call that out, that Trayon Webb is that guy and the other guys have to learn to play without the ball, certainly, worth keeping an eye on, but those guys are going to get the ball. Those guys are going to get their chances. Certainly interesting to see how that running back rotation pans out. All right, up front on defense, Joey Slackman was held out for precautionary reasons as he nurses a minor ailment, but Cam Jackson, Des Watson, both showed up in the scrimmage, and this is the second one in a row where Harry Watson has shined in the absence of Jamari Lyons. Welcome news there. Pass rush didn't give the QBs much time, led by Justice Boone, TJ Searcy, George Gums. Go to the linebacker spot. Pup Howard, another exceptional day from him. It's kind of just on repeat throughout fall camp. He's just put together a really, really good fall camp so far. He's done enough to be starting alongside Shamar James. We'll see how it shakes out, but hearing he's coming along just like you would want him to. Just needs to continue to lead, continue to communicate, make those plays that he's making. But don't overlook sophomore Jaden Robinson at the linebacker spot too. Should not be overlooked, since he's one of the players being mentioned a good bit in the last week or so. So Florida looking even deeper at the linebacker spot. Graham, Childs, the true freshman, making their share of plays as well. I think we knew there was a lot of potential in this group. Had to hit the transfer portal, had to bring in some high-profile freshmen. Jaden Robinson, a second-year player, might be a little bit deeper than what we thought. So overall, physical scrimmage. I think the team overall is more physical. There are some normal camps, bumps, and bruises. No serious injuries. Napier did say wide receiver Andy Jean with an upper body injury. Jaquavion Frazier's lower body be out some time. Didn't give no season enders or anything like that. Didn't say that about the guys, but did say will be out some time for wide receivers Andy Jean, Jaquavion Frazier's. Cornerback Devin Moore missed some practice, wasn't at the scrimmage. Billy Napier did say he'd be back soon. That same tonsil issue that he started fall camp with. Wide receiver Tank Hawkins' shoulder sprain should not be out long. Was told yesterday, told over the weekend, maybe a couple of weeks for him. So there we go. Getting you caught up on the injuries as well. Kind of through the second scrimmage and about 2 this week, next week in preparation for Miami. And then discussed on Twitter briefly last week, but did get confirmation. We'll go one more here. We'll extend it to special teams. Trey Wilson, Chimere Dike, Tank Hawkins, Jaden Ball working as punt returners, Billy Napier said in the press conference. Kickoff returns mentioned Ball as well, Tank as well, and then along with Aiden Mizell on the kickoff return. So one more time, Trey Wilson, Chimere Dike, Tank Hawkins, Jaden Ball working as punt returners, and on kickoff return, Jaden Ball, Tank Hawkins, along with Aiden Mizell. So there were some questions, of course, and that one usually takes some time. Trey Wilson, I think we saw back in the spring at the punt returner spot. We saw that. I know when I put that out on Twitter last week, we don't want him. We don't want him to get hurt. I kind of agree with that at the same time. Maybe sprinkle him in just a little bit, but Napier did go on to say, we got to put somebody we trust back there. So, of course, don't turn the ball over. So, certainly, I think something to look forward to. I do know they really trust DK back there. That's one reason he's getting that opportunity. But as I said, he's improved his speed, setting personal records with his new strength and conditioning program at Florida. So, I wouldn't just say he's reliable because he's just going to catch it and that be it. I mean, I think they like where he's at as a playmaker as well, putting him back there. So, as I mentioned, one more time, Napier said a couple more practices this week before turning the page to Miami on Thursday. All right, there you go. Getting you wrapped up from the second scrimmage. A lot of good stuff there. Defense may be getting ahead of this one. We'll see what it all means. It's hard. It's hard when you're going against yourself. What does this mean? It's a catch-22. Something good happens, that means something bad happens at the same time. Let's see where it goes from there. Explosives being, I think, kind of the main topic, right now of what did it mean? What does it mean for one side of the ball or the other side of the ball? All right, let's keep it going with the quarterback for the Gators. We'll go back to last week, him talking to the media, and kind of these next steps with all the experience, all the leadership that he's bringing back. These next steps for quarterback Graham Mertz.
It's definitely different. I mean, at this point last year, I was still trying to figure out some small details, some small checks, alerts, stuff like that. But now we can, with all these new things, you think about the coach to player, all the different aspects of that. Now you get to. Yeah, now you get to really work on those extra details, stuff that is going to come up in games, instead of focusing on, okay, what's my job on this play? Like, it's already just second nature at that point. Now it's spread it to everybody else.
Yeah, how did that go in the first scrimmage, the coach-to-player, the communication, and what
It's been great.
How do you think it's going to impact kind of the game this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. I think it's interesting, like, think about like an NFL game, like an NFL away game. Like, how loud does it really get compared to at Tennessee or in the swamp? You think of an away team coming in here, like how will that impact it? So there's a lot of different wrinkles to it. We're still we're working on it every day, but I think it's a great addition as far as there's so many different ways you can use it that I'm probably not going to explain in a press conference.
How would communication along the offensive line, it seems to have improved? Is that something you noticed?
I think that for us, just being an offense, I mean, you need to have elite communication across the board, from Jake and I to Jake to the entire line to me helping the tackles. And the running back. Like, that's been a huge point of emphasis for us, and I think that we've been doing a good job of it throughout camp. But
Besides the communication, why else would the offensive line be better this year? What do you see?
Yeah, I think we brought in some great pieces. I mean, you think about the guys we added in from the portal, a couple of young bucks stepping up into that role. I think that you see it through our strength training throughout the winter and the summer, and guys truly change their bodies. And that's the biggest thing I see. I mean, I look up there, I'm like, holy crap, like, these guys are huge, and they can bend. I mean, that's the biggest thing. When you look at an alignment, he's just big. It's like, all right, he's big. What can he do? Can he bend? Can he move? Can he do everything he needs to do? And that's the biggest thing I see. Run game, pass game, these guys executing their assignment, being in the right place with right hand, head placement, like all that little details of playing the position. They've taken a huge jump this offseason.
The comfort level year 2 in the offense, how's that going to show it? How is that shown in camp, and how's that going to show during the season, you think?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to execution. I mean, we've talked about it plenty of times, but we just didn't execute in certain games and we lost. I think that's where you can make this game as simple as you want. Year 2, knowing what we're doing, is how can I help everybody step in the role they need to play, trust their role, be confident in their role, believe that they can go do it, and then go execute it. I think that's the biggest thing. I care about this place. I mean, this place gave me a second chance in college. They put in so much time, energy, effort into developing me as a player, as a person, that I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I feel like I owe this place everything I got. And I didn't just come back here to boost my draft stock. I came back to win. And that's why I'm here right now. That's why I'm standing up here. That's why I was just on the practice field for 2 hours and some serious heat, because we want to win. Like, that's why we're here, man. That's why we're all here right now.
I mean, what more can really be said about Graham Mertz than what kind of has been said, so far with him returning? We had him on the podcast. We had him on Gators Breakdown. Not long after last season, he was still in his sling from breaking his collarbone. It was at SEC Media Days. We heard from him all throughout spring ball. Not really much can be said till we get to see Graham Mertz on the field, and just what all that leadership, all that experience means. And I do think, kind of going to some of the things he said, that communication with the offensive line. Of course, he's behind on, while he's just trying to learn the offense, behind on so many things last season, while trying to learn the offense. So now he can apply the experience and let that grow outwards and affect others more. Everything should be better around him. More weapons, more experienced weapons. I still think a better offensive line than he had last season. And so I think just those things working together, he can, all those things around him making him better, but also him making those things around him better, because he can concentrate on those things as well. Not just having to learn the playbook, not having to learn the offense. He's the guy. Everybody knows he's the guy. He can just take all that experience and push it all out to everyone else. And I like his no-nonsense approach that we've seen all offseason. He embraces the failures of last year. And I think pairing that with this, labeled difficult schedule, that mindset of, we're not trying to prove people wrong. We're just trying to prove ourselves right. And he has said that all offseason. I like that mindset. That's a great mantra that hopefully they feed off of. Sure, it's words, and we'll see if they hold weight. But hey, I certainly believe Mertz is, he's not going to be any main issue this season. I think he'd get more love nationally than with what he did last year if he was surrounded by a better offensive line, better wide receivers last year, a better defense, absolutely. He overcome a bad offensive line a lot of the times. And the same at wide receiver. I think you had some top options in a Ricky Pearsall and a Trey Wilson, but it was very inconsistent after those two guys. I think you're deeper, more talented at that spot. Certainly offensive line as well, I think. And I think last year he could only do so much to overcome a bad defense. I think he can only... Could he have played better in some spots? Absolutely. I chronicled all that. We've chronicled the steps we want to see this offense in becoming a more consistent offense, a more explosive offense, an offense that is better in situational football. Those things should be better to me because of what Mertz brings to the table and his approach to the game. They know what they have to do. Last year was just about, all right, let's quit turning the ball over. Come here. Come be our quarterback. And for you, we'll develop you. Priority number one, take care of the football. You got that. Now for this coming up season, we want to see more explosive. Let's concentrate on that. Let's focus on that. I think better pieces around him, more experience. You're not going to be dealing with a lot of the things you were dealing with last year. I like the mindset. I like where Graham Mertz is coming into this season. Let's get to some of those weapons. We've talked wide receiver a whole lot. What about that tight end spot? Talking about that connection. The connection of Mertz and Boardingham, that has really, really come along nice in fall camp. But he's one more of those weapons. Tight end Arlis Boardingham that got a lot of experience last year. He's one more of those weapons that he's going to be better than he was last year in helping his quarterback, Graham Mertz. So let's hear from Billy Napier on tight end Arlis Boardingham, and then we'll hear from Arlis Boardingham himself about just kind of where he's at, using this year as kind of that springboard year, taking everything he learned last year and applying it to an even bigger second year where he's getting a whole lot of snaps at tight end.
Yeah, he's a year older, and I think he's got much more experience and confidence. This time last year, he hadn't played a play, I don't think. So, I think he went through the growing pains last year, and then you kind of regroup. You know what it's like out there. And then I think you train and prepare a certain way, anticipating, okay, now I understand what's required. But, he's unique. I think he's a mismatched player. He's loose. He can change direction. He can separate. And then he's a good run-after-catch player, and he's really hard to tackle. We've had – I think there's a number of examples, but just 2 minutes the other day, he was able to take one the distance. So I think he's a vertical threat, and he has the ability to run after catch when you throw him the short and intermediate stuff as well.
We were just talking to Hayden about what he feels like he needs to improve on, and it kind of seems like you guys are working on opposite things. You're blocking and just pass catching.
Yeah.
How much have you guys helped each other?
It's tremendous. It's a lot. So we go into the meeting room and we're going through the film, and it's just little things that I might know because my background playing receiver a lot, and his background about being a blocker this whole past year, just giving me the technical things that he does and the technical things that I do.
What's the process like for you becoming a better blocker? Where do you feel like you made the most strides, and how has it kind of progressed?
Yeah, so I feel like my blocking when I first got here, it was more so just understanding what to do, and now I feel like it's all technique when it comes to blocking, and just understanding how the defense plays well along with perfecting my technique.
The explosiveness of this offense, where do you see that kind of trending compared with a year ago maybe?
Definitely. I definitely seen it trending nowhere but up. We've added a lot of great weapons. DK, Badger, all these guys, even the young freshmen, Tank, Mizell, all of them, Andy Jean, all of them are just explosive players that we'll get to see a lot more of in 2024. So I feel like just with that, we're trending in the right direction.
What have you seen from Graham in terms of his evolution? He's an older guy, quarterback, you're evolving year after year after year.
Yeah, I feel like his leadership has taken tremendous strides. I feel like he's at that point where he's able to share his wisdom and his knowledge with the team, and just being able to do that always, it's going to make the team better every time.
Anything in particular he said that stands out?
I think that with Graham, it's more about his encouragement. I don't feel like it's specific. I think it's the consistency of his leadership. just making sure we're going all the time. Even the day at practice, it's getting hot, very hot, and he's telling it's about us, just letting us know as we're getting closer to the end of practice that we got to be the ones to finish.
How do you kind of deal with that roller coaster emotion
Mm-hmm.
when you go from beating Utah 2 years ago and getting ready to maybe the way last year ended?
Mm-hmm.
And that's can't be easy to compartmentalize all that.
Yes. Coach Napier had told us in a meeting beforehand that about a while back, he spoke about that before. He talked about how we have to have that same level mindset, that we can't come off a high win and expect to put in less work and get a better outcome. So I feel like with that's how we've approached all of camp. We're not gonna come off a scrimmage and think, okay, it's time to take a rest or it's time to chill out. We're gonna keep attacking the work all the time, and with that mindset, I feel like if we carry that into the season, I think we'll be good.
When it comes to the naysayers and stuff, is Coach Napier, is he much of a bulletin board kind of guy?
He when it comes to outside noise, you won't hear from him too much, right? He's about his team because he knows everybody within the walls is for him, and everyone without the walls we're not really worried about it.
I think going back to last year, so many were pegging Arlis Boardingham to be that breakout player or that under the radar player. Not necessarily breakout. This year could be the breakout year for Arlis Boardingham, but maybe that under the radar type of player. And like many last year, he was playing his first meaningful snaps, and he was also, let's not forget, making the transition from playing more wide receiver in high school and making that switch to tight end. Caught 26 passes for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. Had 7 catches for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns versus Vanderbilt. The very next game against South Carolina, 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. And also, let's not forget that big third down catch and run late in the game that helped lead that comeback over South Carolina. Then a couple of games later versus Arkansas, 4 receptions for 49 yards. Didn't record a catch in the last 2 games of the season. So I think that next step, of course, is using that experience to become a more consistent threat at that tight end spot. And you heard how he's working on his blocking. So that should trend to him being on the field even more, maybe even less predictable when he's on the field. I'm a big Boardingham fan. I think if you guys, he was a name I've brought up a whole lot last year, and certainly was glad to see him get on the field. I certainly look for him to make that jump, make that key jump. He was a key piece when you started seeing that offense take steps last season, and now he has another season with the quarterback he played with last season. I think this is a connection that has taken that next step in camp, and I think we're going to see it come this fall as well. That Mertz-Boardingham combo. It's going to be nice. I think it's going to be nice. And then let's go back to something else he said, and it was discussed into the media, and that was the growth of true freshman tight end Amir Jackson. Boardingham said Jackson reminds him of himself because of that transition from high school wide receiver to college tight end, noting that his speed and explosiveness stand out, that he has to get that mental part down. So to me, it's good Boardingham can share that same move, share that same experience, moving to the tight end spot. With his understanding of the offense, he can be a reliable source for Jackson to help bring him along. So experiencing this staff for developing a similar player, and then having Arlis Boardingham pass that down to Jackson, that might bring him along a little bit faster. But I think that's the beauty of having somebody like Arlis Boardingham. Amir Jackson, highly rated tight end, but you don't have to force him out there. You can kind of mold him, put him out there when he earns the reps to be out there, but you don't have to force him out there. You got Boardingham out there to make those plays, but can develop, move him along at a nice pace. But certainly looking forward to what Jackson can do as well with the help of Arlis Boardingham. Let's continue with the tight end position with Hayden Hansen, where he discusses his role improving for this season and also on the offensive line.
Great strides, and I give a lot of thanks to Callaway for that. And I will tell you the first thing that I kind of got comfortable with was blocking, just because of my frame. I would tell you that I've made a lot more progress in the passing game, especially like footwork coming out of break, hitting those negative angles and stuff like that. I'm working on trusting my hands all the time, and I'm just really working on all phases, and I think I'm really close to putting it all together, and I'm really excited. there's always a lot of room for improvement, especially in the explosive plays. You can't ever have too many, you know. And Napier always goes over the statistics. I think he said today about you win 75% of the games where you win the explosive play battle, just that alone.
He talked about that today?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay.
And we're all about just moving the chains, avoiding the 3rd and longs, you know, stuff like that to keep it ideal for the sticks.
Yeah, so that winning first down, I mean, so it gives you more opportunities to take shots, you think?
Yes, sir, yep.
Okay. Have you guys mapped that out at all, or seen how you did it that last year?
Yeah, I mean, there's all game plans. We always look back at last year from past experiences, things we can do better. So, I mean, we're always looking at that, and that's a big reason why our practices are so long, because we attack every angle, every situation, so it's getting worked on.
How much better do you guys feel like you can be in 12 personnel now that you feel like you're getting a little more versatile as a tight end with your pass catching?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be a little biased here, but I mean, I think we're the best when we're at 12. You know, I think we bring a lot of versatility to it. But I would answer your question a lot. I know the O lineman would agree too. I think we move people a lot better in 12. You know, so.
Is play action a big part of this explosiveness, and especially like because you guys do run the ball a lot, play action at 12? Is that something that's kind of significant for you guys?
Yes, sir. I mean, I would say that play action depends on our run game. You know, I mean, if it's successful and they fear it, you know, you have more play action opportunities. So I mean, that gives me a lot of pride in the run game, because I know the more I can dominate the run game, the more chances I'll get in the passing game. So I always keep that in my mind.
How much have you and Arlis been able to help each other out? Because it seems like each of your strengths is kind of what the other person needed to improve on, him blocking and your pass catching.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, because I mean, when I'm watching the tape, you know, the plays I'm not in, I'm like, okay, what's he doing? Because most of the time it's opposite of what I'm doing. So I'm watching what he's doing. He does the same thing with me, and it's just really cool, because I mean, I can turn it on, and he does exactly what he's supposed to every time. And I mean, I saw he was on the Mackey Award watch list. I mean, I'm really proud of him. He puts in a lot of work, and he deserves it.
How do you think the O-line is doing?
I think we're way better than last year. They're way faster in communication. I mean, I know a little more because I'm like on the line with them. I just hear, you know, Slaughter. You can hear Slaughter's voice from 100 yards away. He mics that ID, or you know, we're ready to go. It takes about 2 seconds. And I will say, Brandon, the guy that came from SDSU, I love that. I love that man. He's awesome. We've been working really hard on getting our combinations down, our communication down, because me and Barber already have it from last year, you know. But we put a lot of good stuff on tape with our combination blocks, and I'm really excited.
Where do you feel like the chemistry is at with that group, and just how they're gelling together?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I mean, I think Slaughter and Barber are doing a really good job of getting the newer guys that came in from the portal up to speed. Yeah. And I mean, it's been really fun to watch and work together with them. I kind of made a joke to Brandon the other day. I was like, hey, I know this is your last year. I was like, whatever your draft grade is, I'm going to get you drafted 2 rounds before that with these combination blocks. So we'll see.
All right, let's go back a year ago. Florida playing Utah. Hansen comes in, and he just took the job from Dante Sanders last season. And it was apparent, you know, he was getting snaps game 1. He appeared in all 12 games. He had 9 starts last year, 12 catches for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns in that redshirt freshman season. Will certainly top those numbers this season. And as he expands his game, well, I really like the conversation of the 12 personnel that he brought up, and having, you know, those 2 tight ends on the field, him and Boardingham. You guys all know how we have discussed, you know, the last couple of episodes, and, you know, some of the concerns along the offensive line. And you can hear Hansen discuss, you know, the combo blocking, and in particular with Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon, who he speaks highly of. But if there are concerns there, you know, if there are concerns there, do we see more 12 personnel, or, you know, do we see Hansen on the field more to help out that right side of the offensive line in the pass rush? Going to be a balancing act, because this team has Mertz coming back with some good wide receivers, so you want to be able to lean on that as much as possible too. Hopefully 12 personnel won't be needed. Hopefully it won't be needed more, and it's just Hansen helping out, you know, when needed. You know, as long as he expands his game to become more of a receiving threat in those situations too. Kind of going back to the same discussion we were having about Arlis Boardingham, just be less predictable when those guys are on the field. So those guys are working on different things. You know, Hansen working on the receiving aspect of it, Boardingham working on the blocking aspect of it. They can work together there. They talked about that in the press conference too. Of, hey, well, I'm working on the thing he's good at, and he's working on the thing I'm good at. They can help each other develop along the way. But for Hayden Hansen, definitely love his demeanor and helping the run game, because in the end, it can help him more as a receiving threat. I love that angle of it. You know, if we're running the ball, it's going to help me as a receiving threat. So, of course, playing more of that wide tight end role, that inline blocker tight end, He'll give defenders a hard time in the run game and then find those gaps in the passing game to exploit. So, like he said, it'll work even better. That run game gets going, can call some play action off of that. And there he is in the seam, wide open. Kind of a tight end's dream, right? He knows his role in this offense. And it will expand this season because of experience. But, he's not out there for the beauty plays. He'll hopefully have a chance to make some. But I think he enjoys that. He enjoys that blocking role, the occasional pass. But certainly, as he becomes a better receiver, you'll see his game expand as well. So I like this tight end spot for the Gators where it's at with Boardingham and Hansen. And those get two guys leading the way. We'll see what depth behind them holds. But I certainly think with those two guys, you don't have a lot of worry. You don't have a lot of worry at that spot. Long as they take those expected jumps that I do expect them to take. It's just one more position where you heard Billy Napier say coming out of that second scrimmage, hey, we just got more competition. We got more depth. And a lot of that's because it sounds like a broken record when we talk about some of these positions on here, but it's really the truth. There is a lot of experience returning. And it's apparent here at this tight end spot too. And those guys take the roles that we think they can take. Russ Callaway, coaching those guys, then it should help the offense a bit more. That's why you can see the steps in this offense. Look, I know I've been critical of the concerns along the offensive line. I still think they're better than they are last year. Pair that with Mertz, pair that with the weapons at receiver, pair that with a deep running back room, compare it with the tight ends, you can see why this offense should take the steps. If they don't take the steps, I'm not sure I'm putting it on the talent. I'm probably putting it on the coaching staff. Because I like what they have assembled as far as talent goes and as far as experience and depth goes. And I think, for me, I think there's enough tight end to win, or enough experience to win some games. What's the coach going to do for me? All right, there we go. We got plenty to go along with that note as well. We're going to talk about defense later this week. We'll move to that linebacker spot. Hear from Shamar James, Derek Wingo, as we go through fall camp. We'll see what other players Florida gives us this week, but that's kind of a backlog. Thanks for everybody who reached out on social media last week. Had a minor procedure late last Friday, so needed to take a few days off, recover a bit. I was a little sore there, so I needed to take a few days off, but certainly was able to get that recruiting episode out for you with a little bit of pre-recording magic, of course, and taking a few days off and kind of asking around about the scrimmage a little bit, seeing some of the reports out there as well. We're able to come back here, and we're ready to go. We're ready to go for fall camp. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown, though. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.